Hey everybody, welcome to this very special episode of Finance This Property That. 2 years ago, I started this podcast. The first ever recording was on an iPhone with JHK Legal and Natalie. I then found Umbrella Creative, and today marks our 100th episode. And by the time you're listening to this, I would have launched the new practice. I've been working towards this for over a decade, and this is the founder story. So stick around for a few hidden gems. Across 99 episodes, one thing became clearer than anything else. Property is a game of finance. The structure determines what's possible, and the right structure compounds across generations. The 4 key lessons I've learned, or I've tried to instill into all the listeners, is lesson 1. Structure beats rate every time. When you're building a portfolio, if you're building just based on rate, you're actually going to slow you down. Structure and policy will determine the rate that you actually get and how much you build your portfolio over time, and the difference between 2 million and 6 million, the difference between 2 properties and people stuck at 2 properties and people that build 6+ properties in their portfolio. Lesson 2, property is a finance game. Unless you've got squillions of dollars in cash, you need to finance the purchase with cash or equity as your deposit. When we're structuring the finance or understanding what you're trying to buy, it all starts with the goal. What are you trying to achieve, and by when, and how much? Once you have that, it's very easy to work backwards from there, and we can work through the finance with strict policy and also the structuring. And yeah, like I said before, rate really is the last thing because it's determined by policy and what you're even trying to buy. Lesson 3, the right structure compounds across generations. You can make mistakes through your property journey, and you can fix certain structural issues that you have if they're caught early. If they're not structured correctly right from the beginning, that could actually hinder your whole financial legacy. That is for your kids, and also what assets they do end up getting if you haven't structured it correctly and you haven't explicitly said how they're meant to be distributed once you're passed away. Number 4, clients who think long do better than clients that think fast. Making decisions around building a portfolio around emotion rather than the numbers is fraught with danger. You're building an investment portfolio with property, and sometimes, actually most of the time when it's an investment, you need to take the emotion out of it. This is why you surround yourself with the right team, not the team that tells you yes all the time, but the team that actually questions you and helps you understand your why behind what you're actually doing. So why the decision now? And where did this all start? So there's a couple of people I'd like to thank. Actually, there's more than a couple. The first person I'd like to thank is Adam. Adam Bradley from Emerge Finance, who took a punt on me at probably the lowest time in my life. I had nothing to show but a bit of experience and a little bit of ambition. The platform that he built is what made everything next that I did possible. The decision to leave Emerge is not about something, I guess, being wrong at Emerge. It was about something becoming clearer to me in a conversation I had in Vietnam around what is my financial legacy that I want to build. My vision is to empower financial legacies for generations, and the practice I wanted to build I wanted to make sure it was empowering my financial legacy as well. And I wanted to have a crack myself. I think one of the things I said to Adam when I was telling him about this was, if I don't do it, I will regret every single day that I didn't do it. And I don't want to ever leave any regrets on the table. I'd rather have a crack and fail than not have a crack at all. I honestly think, Adam may have seen this before I did. I think he saw a lot more potential than I ever did in myself. And I think he's just given me the launch pad to do it. And I cannot thank him more than I already have. I am leaving very much stronger than when I arrived. And that's the mark of a real partnership and someone that's really a good mentor. And I'll always be grateful for the things I've learned at Emerge. And obviously, we'll continue the ongoing friendship that we started. So that's how it started, right? Adam took a punt. Emerge gave me the massive foundation to build my my own business underneath their brand. I've learned so many things, and a couple of key things that I've learned is, if you want to grow something big, you're going to have to put something in yourself. You got to have skin in the game, blood, sweat and tears, long nights, and it will be worth it. Honestly, if you're thinking that mortgage broking is a 9 to 5 job, it's not. I am a single dad. I have my daughter week on, week off. Some weeks I'm working. When I'm with her, I have to block out time during the middle of the day. And it's taught me how to manage my time, manage my energy so I can be present for her, but also show her what hard work is at the same time. That's one massive key lesson that I've learned. Obviously, then also the craft of running a business, employing staff. So, a massive thing that I did was employ my first staff member. But I didn't employ my first staff member till I until I found Sam Panetta from Broker Coach in January, December, but we started working together in January 2025. I think another person I'd really like to thank for the absolute growth is Sam, because he saw the potential Adam saw, but then was able to, from an absolutely independent standpoint, be able to help me grow and improve with little tips and tricks and techniques. And one of the things he said very quickly was, you need to have higher staff. and we did. I did. My first staff member was offshore. Amazing, Azu. Miss you. And hope everything's well with you. But my first onshore hire, and a massive thank you, because he's already, by the time you're listening to this podcast, it would already be 1 year and 1 month. That's Craig. He's my senior commercial credit analyst. He came on board on June the 2nd, 2025. He's still here. So, I must be doing something right, or at least paying his super on time, which is obviously quite important. But he's made one of the biggest differences in the workflow. I've been able to take on more of the types of clients I like to see, and also giving me a different point of view, and really treated it as if it was his own business as well, because his saying is, if the business is doing well, he's going to do well, and he gets paid his super, which is obviously important. My second hire is Ferry. Ferry is also a credit analyst. He lives in Victoria, but we're not going to hold that against him. He's come on board to help with a lot of the residential lending that we do. And between the three of us, we've struck a really good balance and workflow. And he's going to play an integral part moving forward, because when in the next episode, he's already he was an existing broker. He's going to take another crack, and I like to give people the opportunity to give it a go. So those are, a couple of other thank yous. The other thank you I'd really like to give is Luke and Caitlin from Umbrella Creative. So all this production and all the reels, I don't have time to do that. So they are excellent at what they do and really motivate. Like, they make life easy for me. I just come and do my thing. They're not yes people either. You know, if an idea is crap, they'll just tell you, or at least find ways to make it better. So if you are looking to do a podcast, goddamn, just rip the Band-Aid off, suck it up and do it. It is a lot of hard work. I think over 90% of podcasts don't even make it to episode 10. And here we are, we've 10x that and we're at episode 100. Good team goes a long way. I think the highlight of 2025 was winning 2 awards, the Australian Mortgage Association Broker of the Year for Productivity and the Bankwest Broker of the Year for High Quality Submissions in Queensland. That's actually the justification of what we do or how our process actually works. And I'm going to go into that a little bit later about what we do and how we do it. So what's the next episode? Well, it's exciting times. As of July the 1st, the new business will be launched. As you can see, the branding in the background is changed a little bit. Still the same, just different colours. The name of the new business in Italian is Stratega Finance, but for you Australians, you can call it Stratega Finance. So what does that even mean? So the work we do isn't a transaction. It's structural. We engineer the loan architecture that gets serious property investors and business owners compounding wealth across generations. Stratega means strategist. That's the work. It's not order taking, it's not rate shopping, it's strategy. The tagline we live by is strategy, leverage, legacy. Your strategy first, because if your debt isn't set up correctly, nothing else compounds. Leverage second, because the right debt against the right asset is how we build wealth. Legacy's third, because if you're not building something that outlasts you, you're not building wealth. You're just earning an income and collecting assets. The vision remains the same. Empowering financial legacies for generations. It's what my why is, and it always has been since I started at Emerge. I got very clear on that, and I'm going to take it along with me. So how do we work? Really, really simple. I call it the triangle. You need 3 things to grow a property portfolio. You need income, you need cash or equity, so cash in the bank or equity from property, and a clean credit file. Those are the 3 points of the triangle. You can't have, if one is missing, it doesn't work. Around that triangle is a circle, and in the gaps are 3 things: your finance strategy, your property strategy, and the team that supports you to get there. You can't do it by yourself, or you can, it just won't be as good. You get too emotionally involved in it, and without a clear guide or a clear roadmap via finance and a property strategy and the team that backs it up, it's very hard in this current environment to get ahead. And to get ahead safely and build that legacy that you're trying to build for future generations. Where do you start with us? Well, it's really simple. It's a phone call. And off the back of that phone call, we figure out, hey, can we work together? Is this something I can help you with? Are we the right fit? If we are, every client starts off with the finance strategy because that is the foundation. There's no skipping the step, because if we skip this step, then all the steps after it aren't as tight and we'll make mistakes. And then we've got to come back and fix it. We want to make sure that this first step is built on a solid foundation of understanding and knowing exactly where you are. That's why we guarantee this outcome. You will walk away from your finance strategy session knowing 3 things. You know your borrowing capacity, scenario tested by every lender, properly done. The structure we potentially recommend, and your next move. If you don't have that clarity, we just simply have not done our jobs correctly. And if we haven't, you pay us a fee, we'll just give you the fee back because we just haven't done the job correctly. So far, I haven't had anyone not gain that clarity. So who do we serve? It's very simple. Serve business owners and property investors who want to grow their property portfolio with strategy and also build a team around them that aren't yes people. I've already talked about my team that we have. Craig's our senior commercial credit analyst. Between him and myself, we look after all the hard stuff. We do a lot of commercial, development, SMSF commercial, rooming house. That is my biggest asset class and I'm an expert at it. We have about 5 or 6 conversations a week around rooming house and hand over about 2 to 3 strategies a week around it as well. Ferry is my residential guy. He's an absolute weapon. Again, not a yes person. I don't hire yes people. We'll tell you how it is, give you that clarity so that you can make your logical next best step. Our next hire is actually going to be potentially our operations manager who will look after the whole back end process from lodgement to approval to settlement to post-settlement. You're repricing every 6 to 12 months. And we've got the facilities now and we've got the tech to do that, which is amazing. And I've built it all myself. So you may be asking, well, what's different between you and everyone else? At Stratega, we actually do the work up front. We don't submit applications for the sake of submitting applications. Don't submit applications for approval. We submit applications based on policy, structure, and the right sequencing. Because you can't do step 3 without step 2 and step 1 being done in the correct order. We will not submit an application unless we know it's going to get settled. By the time you've got your strategy, you already know what lender we're going to, the chance of approval, what the rates are, what the valuations are for each lender. So you're making that informed decision on the spot. And we're guiding you through that whole process. Then it's just executing. Once we start executing, you're speaking to the foundational team members. You're a good accountant, financial planner, good buyer's agent, solicitor, property manager. I've got all those people that you can all access as part of my greater network. The best thing about my network is they don't pay me and I don't pay them. So all the advice that you get is independent and unbiased. And that is what you need, not yes people, not people that have something to gain. As an example of someone we've helped, and this is probably one of my proudest ones, a lovely couple called James and Grace. Yes, that is their real name, and I don't think they'll worry about me telling them. We've set up a strategy where they've turned approximately 1.5 million in their current assets to potentially 5 million at the end of next year. They already had an owner-occupied property. Their structure wasn't set up correctly. They already had an SMSF property, probably a little bit too early, especially around the advice piece. But hey, we're there now. It looks after itself. Our next move, they wanted to buy a rooming house. But I just stopped them and said, well, what is the actual goal? And their goal was to build something for their kids and have enough passive income once they retire or they can retire early. So we work backwards. So we had to structure this in such a way we needed to get the rooming house first because that's going to take the biggest chunk of the deposit, make that cash flow positive, and then we also made sure they spoke to a great accountant, Morgan from Credit, around the structure. What is the right structure at the time? And also getting that tax advice and the SMSF advice, which should be all sorted. And then we also got conversations starting very early with Chris. Chris had the strategy for the finance. Morgan had the strategy for the finance. James and Grace had the strategy for the finance. We all knew what needed to happen and where. So Chris knew that he couldn't start his search till we actually secured the rooming house. We secured the rooming house about $65,000 under what we modeled, which was great because we had more cash to put towards the next purchase. Did the rooming house, got a cracking deal on their rooming house finance. It's all positively geared, the income is taking care of all the repayments and most of the expenses, which is amazing. We've also just about to settle. By the time this is been aired, they would have already settled on property number 4, which they're going to do a renovation, and then we've got enough cash and equity to go build another house out the back, therefore giving them 5 properties. They've gone from 2 to 5 properties in under 2 years. They would have gone from $1.5 million to close to $5.5 million in value of their properties. And that's all the help with strategic direction, strategic advice, seeing the right people, and not having all yes people in their corner. They're now going to see Troy to organise their financial plan, their will, their estate, so now they can actually secure their financial legacy for their kids. So empowering financial legacies for generations is not a marketing language. That's the work that we do. We engineer the structural foundation that lets wealth compound past you, past your children, past their children. If you're only thinking about the next purchase, you're thinking too small. The work we do operates at the generational level. That is why I'm starting this new business, to help more people and also to have a crack, because I believe that if you don't, you'll have regrets, and you don't want to die with any regrets. So the new business launching 1st of July, Stratega Finance. We'll have a website, www.strategafinance.com.au, spelled STRATEGAFINANCE. That's why you Aussies can say Stratega or Stratega. The podcast is still going. Hopefully, we'll see you on episode 200 and you're still all listening. Nothing's changed, just the branding. The team's still the same, Craig, myself, and Ferry. We're actually growing the team, also that we can serve more people like yourselves that are listening. I really hope you like my origin story. Look out for all the pieces of content that are coming out. And thanks for listening to the last 99 episodes and this 100th episode. I hope to all see you on the 200th, or at least 101 and 102, because 101 and 102 is a panel episode. It's absolutely cracking with Morgan, Troy, and Chris, the 3 biggest influences on my journey and that have helped me build my generational, empowered my financial legacies for generations. But until then, as always, this information on this podcast is very general in nature, doesn't take into consideration any of your personal circumstances. If you want to talk to me about finance, please do. You can find me on Instagram at Dion Finance Specialist. That may change, but it'll probably not. Podcast is on YouTube and Apple and Spotify and all the other streaming services. But until then, I'll see you on the next episode, and thanks for listening to the last 100 episodes.